Well, they were the ones asking how big the worm was.
Come hither. I've been waiting for you.
Who are you?
I'm the Reverend Mother Goss Helen Moheim. But you can call me Bob.
Oh, okay. Nice to meet you, Bob. But I gotta go. Lots of space shit to do. Okay, I'm sorry.
Put your hand in the box.
What's in the box?
Whatever I desire.
Oh, that's weird considering the position of the box. Everything. It just is like.
Free will and fate go hand in hand for the young heir of the House of Atreides. Placing your hand in the box will determine... honestly, I don't remember. Just put your hand in the box.
Oh. That's not bad at all. Huh. It's starting to smell.
Yes, it is rather pungent, isn't it?
Yeah, real bad. Oh my God, it smells like a tube sock filled with hot tang.
Yes, it's like Keith Richards' laundry hamper.
It smells like a stinky ghee.
It smells like rancid buttermilk.
It smells like Earl Grey tea made with boiled hot dog water.
Dipped in gravy.
Son of a... It hurts worse than that time I got a cheese ball shoved up my and that wasn't even the worst part. It was 6 days later I went to the doctor and the doctor had to put his in my and I couldn't even with my for 6 days. Yeah, it's worse than that.
Yeah, it's like a frozen Totino's pizza soaked in Dracar Noir.
It smells good in here. What are you guys cooking?
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Tavern Talk. I am Philip, and joining me this week is Mr. Chris Wilks. He's a digital content specialist, but also the co-moderator of the Real Arkansas Facebook page. So if you're in the filmmaking community in Central Arkansas, you probably are familiar with Chris. Thanks for being here, Chris. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. And thanks for bearing with us through what was 2.5 hour, almost 3 hour movie this week.
2 hours and 35 minutes.
2 hours. Yeah, it was a long one this week. It's kind of been that recently between the last Duel and Bond and now this. Some epic movies out recently.
Films are just, theatrical releases are just longer. I went from the screenwriting books where it was always 120 pages, then it became 90, but I don't know where all these 2.5 hour movies are coming from.
Well, and we'll get into that a little bit with this week's release because of, it's an adaptation of a novel, and there has been a movie adaptation of this before that didn't fare as well. This week we are talking about Denis Villeneuve's Dune, Dune Part 1, as it says in the title card on the actual movie. A ton of people in this. We'll get into the full cast list later, but obviously led by Timothée Chalamet. Zendaya is in there. She's top billed, but only in there sparsely. But Rebecca Ferguson plays a pretty big role, and then you have people like Jason Momoa and Dave Bautista and Oscar Isaac and Josh Brolin, and I'm probably leaving
Stellan
people.
Skarsgård.
Stellan Skarsgård,
I
unrecognizable.
Love heels and villains, and he's one of the best.
I did not realize that it was him until I looked at the cast list afterward. So a lot of people in this big movie. Epic scope of a movie, big sprawling story. Like everything is big with this movie, but kind of the bit here on this show is that it's our initial reaction. We just came out of the theater watching it. So what are your first thoughts on Denis Villeneuve's Dune?
Well, and of course, I like to do research, and so of course I had made it a point to watch David Lynch's film.
Okay.
And I remember not liking it very much whenever I was younger. Very, very slow. And of course, as I mentioned before, one of my favorite films, Blade Runner, took me at least 3 times to get through.
Wake up. Time to die.
Right.
And those were kind of those novels were created around the same time, and and the films kind of turned it. But I think this was a much more fully realized version of that story. Now, what the actual book is, I haven't read the book, and on the way out of the theater, I encountered a group of med students, one of whom had read the book, and said it's a challenging read, but once you get through the first few chapters of it, so. I guess my first thought, as I mentioned to you in the theater, is like this was like watching a book.
Yeah, it's especially that first act. It's very deliberate about how it is going to set up all these worlds and all these characters, and making sure that the audience is going to be able to engage and understand engage with the characters and understand what is going on, plot wise, because it's very heavy in terms of plot and story. And it's just very complex. There are a lot of layers.
Yeah, they figured out how
this.
to get to the action pretty quick, because in the original film, it was literally started with a lecture. I mean, it was almost like a PowerPoint where they had 4 planets lined up, and they kind of briefed you on the backstory of it. So a lot of that stuff was, I think, the storytelling was better. I think they managed to work that content in incidentally a lot more organically throughout the film than they did in the original adaptation.
Well, see, and so that kind of brings me to like where I'm coming at this from. I'm coming into this completely fresh. Like, I didn't read Frank Herbert's 1965 novel, and I did not see David Lynch's Dune. The only thing I had seen was a documentary called Jodorowsky's Dune, about a version, I think, that was going to be made before David Lynch got a hold of it, which was pretty trippy, but it's still, like, I had no idea what the story was. But you get a lot, there's definitely, like, some Shakespeare and some Joseph Campbell here and all that good stuff. Like, you have your chosen one, your hero's journey type deal.
The side story,
yeah, but I just didn't know what it was going to do to differentiate itself from all these other ones we've seen before. And even though I wondered if this was going to have like some of that John Carter syndrome, where like the book was really early before a lot of like the Star Wars, or even I think the Lord of the Rings novels were probably...
Well, the Lord of the Rings novels were basically, Tolkien wrote those books to support the Elven language that he created.
And they predated the 60s, though,
Oh,
right?
yeah. And of course, you want to talk about long movies, 12 hours of people walking, like they said on Clerks 2, but...
3 movies of people walking to a volcano.
But I mean, one of the things that, we had talked about, what does it consider set design whenever you have these expansive CGI sets and universes that they create. And they really did that well. So much what they can do with the special effects in the 1984 film were just cheese ball. I mean, they were riding worms, and you could see the green screen shadows around them. It was terrible. I mean, the CGI was just amazing. And really, the planets and the world is a character in the story.
Yeah.
And so, and they really, they spent a lot of time making you familiar with the character in the story. The other character in the story are all the houses that are, warring for control over Arrakis.
Right.
And they have to set that up.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, coming into it fresh, not knowing really what was going on, I was able to understand, the different dynamics at play and everything, and what was going on, to the extent I was able to become invested in it and, root for our hero and everything, but also at the same time, I was being immersed in the world. And yeah, what you're saying about the special effects, I really wanted to touch on, because I don't know, Villeneuve, like, he's done this with Arrival and with Blade Runner 2049. Like, he just melds the practical and the visual effects elements so well that it all feels natural.
It's just seamless.
Really,
especially whenever you saw some of the I remember seeing some of the shots. I mean, just these amazing. Whenever you see the facades of the temples and just the architectural details that the animators put into all those embellishments about. I mean, the things you can do with the medium. I mean, it really, it rivals my work creating the box from our sketch.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, certainly, you got to appreciate the work in that regard.
Yeah, because and like even just. See, again, having not read the novel, I don't know how much detail it goes into about like descriptions of spacecrafts or of costumes and things like that. And, this did kind of like strike something of a muted tone in terms of the costumes and everything. And that was fine by me. Like, I liked that it didn't get too crazy as far as, space costumes or silly like alien creatures or anything like that. I appreciated that. I liked the more grounded tone, if not down to earth tone, but I really liked the design of it, and some of the spacecrafts were just really inventive and really creative.
Yeah.
Like the whole I don't know
dragonfly
ships.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I'm curious if that's a part of the novel or if somebody production designer came up with that.
That's one of those things that'll be a good discussion to have for the second one,
right.
where we just really because we'll take some time to go back and reprocess this material and analyze it like the Zapruder film.
Yeah,
because there is obviously Herbert just created this amazing universe, and I think that the Dune is actually a series of novels.
Yeah.
So I think Dune was just the first of many. So
right.
So like I said, if this franchise takes off, this could turn into a but I'm not sure if it's going to find its audience.
That's the thing. Like I wanted to clarify that being previously unengaged with the story or any of the material that related to Herbert's novel, like I was able to understand what was going on, and I was able to enjoy it without knowing anything prior to going in. So I think there's definitely the opportunity there. I think for people to engage with it, even if they have no idea what the source material is about. But yeah, it's just are people going to show up? And I really do hope we get a sequel to this. But this is one of those things where it's just. I don't know. Well, as far as the new one, then, was there anything else that like stood out to you that you wanted to touch on? Any like thing that detracted from the experience for you?
It was long.
No.
It was, and I don't know how you tell a story like this, and that's one of the things that we, as being a product of the MTV generation. The older Dickensian books were designed to be time consumers. Mm-hmm. And some of those books were freakishly long by today's standards.
Right.
There's no way you would get somebody today into the digital world to read that. And so whenever you take that book concept and translate it to, but ultimately, if it's an adaptation or not, the film should be instantly obvious to the viewers.
Right.
And to your point, I think it probably does do that, and I think it does that. I think the storytelling is a little bit better. So it really is a rich universe, and I think maybe it'll be helpful to evaluate, assuming this is going to be a two-parter.
Yeah.
The two films as a complete work.
Yeah, I'm definitely anxious to see how the second part complements it, and if the one thing I would say that it kind of took away from it for me was like I was definitely taken in by this world, like it was so detailed and fleshed out, and like just done. Such care was taken to make sure like we were, we felt like we were in this universe that they created. And so I liked that. But as far as like the actual story, the emotional investment in the story, it felt a little hollow. And I wanted I wanted to be, I needed that emotional connection.
That young man playing the lead role, I forget his name.
Yeah, Timothée Chalamet.
He really delivered a solid, nuanced performance, and you saw his character grow.
Yeah.
He went from a little boy to a man.
Yeah.
He really, in terms of, and I think the other characters in the story, there's a bunch of them, and there was a bunch of them that were in the original theatrical release that didn't make it in this one. But I just don't feel like any of those were standouts.
Yeah. The storytelling is really good. Like I mentioned the screenwriters, Eric Roth and John Spates, because those guys have done things like Prometheus and Forrest Gump and Benjamin Button and all kinds of really, really well-renowned stuff. And I really did appreciate like the storytelling here. There was something missing about whether it was in the plotting or in the story. It was just like, and again, I don't know how much comes from, or if there's a disconnect between the novel and the adaptation or not. But it just felt like there was something missing in terms of like that final like little.
Yeah.
That one little facet was missing that didn't take me in completely. Like
Yeah.
I was
if
almost
you're
there.
going to adapt it, you can only be so loyal to the source material.
Yeah,
And, but ultimately it has to be entertaining, and so maybe it didn't pass this test fully.
I was definitely invested, but yeah, I don't know if that the entertainment factor was sustained that whole 2 hour and 45 minute runtime, or 35 minutes, sorry. But here on Tavern Talk, what we tend to do is rate a movie 5 stars out of 5 stars. So what would your initial reaction
Do we have to
rating
use
be?
whole stars?
No, you can use half.
3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, generously, maybe 4, just because I felt like they did a little better than the original one.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll say 4 because I'm rooting for it. I want to see, and at this point we're already locked in to do the second one.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So we're invested. So let's see what they do with it.
And
that extra point is theirs to gain or lose on the next one.
That's a good point. That's fair enough. I was going to do 4 as well, just based on the visuals alone. Like Chris said,
Worth the price of admission for the visuals.
I was going to say,
effects,
definitely see it on the biggest screen possible. Visually it's
definitely
just
an IMAX
stunning. And and if you've seen any Villeneuve's films before, you probably know that going in. But yeah, if you know the source material, you're probably going to love it. If you don't know it, I still had a really good time with it and had no problems understanding and becoming engaged in this world. So thank you
so much
for checking out the movie with us and for stopping by and talking about it too.
You told me I could get a plug in.
Oh yeah,
I just
let's
wanted
do
to
that.
say, my father passed away about 2 weeks ago after he lost his battle with esophageal cancer. And so my family and we are going to be raising funds for the Victory Junction Foundation. Their website is victoryjunction.org. It is a charitable organization that's been in business for 20 years with the Petty racing family. In honor of the king's grandson Adam, who was killed in an accident. It's a summer camp for kids with serious illnesses, and they provide all sorts of team building and leadership activities, and they never tell kids no with their encounters. So even if you can't contribute financially this time, please consider Victory Junction in your future giving plans.
Yeah, and we'll definitely put the link on the screen here,
Yes,
and it's in
you.
the description below. So definitely donate, and if you can. But yes, thank you. So sorry for your loss, but thank you for coming by and talking a little
so much.
sci-fi flick with us. And thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, do all the good YouTube stuff that you know to do. You know what I'm talking about. There's graphics. Thank you guys. Thank you, Chris, and we'll see you next time. Peace. Well, that's weird considering the position of the box and every.
It's like a sack of beef entrails stuffed with pumpkin spice. Truck driver's roid cushion.
Okay.
It's kind of like a rancid porterhouse dredged in tobacco juice and broken glass.
It smells like a truck driver's roid cushion. It's like a blue cheese jock strap. Smells like a rutting dough near a paper mill. Okay, I'm gonna do the one. Are you still rolling?